Welcome on in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan. Streaming online at 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app, as well as streaming live on YouTube. The Fan KLGN is where you can check out our video streams. You can also just watch the show back as a video podcast if you're so inclined. You can also just find our podcasts as you find any other podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That's where the analytics tell us most of you who listen to the podcast are finding
wherever
us.
you subscribe, you should be able to find us.
You can also find it on 1069thefan.com. So there's 1.5 million different ways you can find our podcasts, video or audio. Glad to have all of you listening, however you're listening, wherever you're listening, and whenever you're listening. But if you are listening live or watching live, you can text our Young Power Sports of Logan text line 435-339-0321. A bunch of different topics to go over today. High school football, college football, little NFL as well, Aggies in the NFL, and we got to summarize pick six. So plenty to go over. Also, Utah State soccer, as they were in action over the weekend on Sunday. We've got video highlights. Those of you watching on the video stream will be able to see the video highlights, though. Obviously, audio is there as well for those listening over the airwaves. So, Eric, why don't we jump right into this as we get into high school football? As there were games, every team that we cover was in action. We didn't have video streams for all of them. Mountain Crest was over at Deer Creek. Couldn't quite make arrangements to get people there. We were really spread out. It's non-region, so everyone is occupied, so we couldn't get to that game. Although, to be honest, that was the least interesting game out of everyone.
Right. If there was a game to maybe punt on, that was the one.
Yeah.
UHSAA has instituted a new mercy rule.
Oh, is that? Oh, I didn't realize there was an actual end the game. I thought that was a mutual coach's decision to end things.
No. So they've always had a mercy rule to some degree,
like
where
a
they
running
let the clock keep going. But they've modified it to, if you're up by a certain amount, they just will call the game. I mean, obviously, it's in the second half. I have to go up and double check exactly when it takes into effect.
It was at the.
But I think it's after the end of the third quarter.
So apparently, it's a 44-point mercy rule. I think it kicks in because they didn't play any of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so I think it's at the end of the third. So the similar thing happened with Box Elder. They had a mercy rule game as well. They just rolled through their competition. They ended up beating Deseret Peak, former Region 11 team.
Current Region 11 team.
Current Region 11 team. And blew them out 49-0. And that game ended because of the mercy rule.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of good because, like, if you're up by that much and you're just doing a running clock, just might as well end it. You have mercy rules and things like softball and whatnot. So I think it ends up being for the best. Another game that, we had a video stream of this, but there were some audio issues. I think the video of this game is up on Cache Valley Daily if you're so inclined. There isn't an audio, so we didn't really pull clips because it's harder to do that over the airwaves unless we wanted to narrate the clips. But it was heard over the airways just because we did some workarounds there. But Ridgeline taking on Morgan. This was an interesting game just because you have one of the best teams in 4A versus one of the best teams in 3A. So it's always kind of interesting to see the best of different classifications with these two teams. But Ridgeline ends up pulling away, though not without some early resistance from Morgan. For instance, they got the first touchdown of the game on a pick six. The new, I believe, freshman quarterback, Crew Cox, I think he's a freshman or sophomore. So it started things off a little rough for him, but then Ridgeline started piling it on starting at the end of the first quarter, then had a 22-point second quarter, piled on a couple more touchdowns in the third quarter. Ridgeline clawed a few points later in the second half, but this one ends 42-28.
Yeah, and it wasn't that close. Those points for Morgan came kind of in garbage time.
They were down by 4 touchdowns when they put up a couple of quick. It was another pick six, but they had back-to-back touchdowns, but that only drew them within like 3 scores by the end. And Ridgeline, the second Morgan scored back-to-back touchdowns late in the third quarter. Then the next drive, Ridgeline pulled ahead again, another touchdown. And then Morgan gets their final points to make it 42-28 with 10 seconds to go in the game.
Yeah, I know Ridgeline is breaking in a new quarterback. He's a little young, a little inexperienced. 2 of the Morgan touchdowns came off of pick sixes. But that Ridgeline offensive line and running attack is still superior than a lot of the teams that they will face. So that is the time to break in a new young quarterback. But the defense also played well for the Riverhawks. But there may be a few times where they need to kind of cover up some gaps as Cox gets his feet underneath.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of they did. Like they basically allowed really one touchdown kind of the entire game for the most part. 10 seconds left, they gave up a touchdown when they're up 42-21. But first touchdown of the game is scored on a pick six for Morgan. They don't get an offensive touchdown until 3 minutes and 32 seconds left in the third quarter. So they were pulling their weight big time there.
Yeah.
And then they give up a garbage time touchdown to the Morgan offense. So yeah, it was like when they who was they had a 4-year starter before Crew Cox or something like that. So like they've had these freshman
Nate
quarterbacks
Daly
before.
Yeah,
this is Nate Daly. So they've gone through these seasons where they're breaking in a freshman quarterback, but as you said, Noah Fiafia, elite running back. So whether or not you had a freshman or a senior quarterback, you're going to lean on Noah Fiafia.
Yeah.
So
right. Yep.
So other games, let's see. Bear River went up against Ogden. I guess we'll go in order of least to most interesting. Of course, there were 3 really interesting games. 2 of them went to overtime. One of them didn't go to overtime, but it was a thrilling fourth quarter. Bear River went up against Ogden. It was another 4A versus 3A. Of course, Bear River kind of middling 4A. Ogden kind of middling, maybe slightly below average at times in 3A. So certainly some potential for some interesting things here. But Bear River, like both teams kind of got off to a slow start. Nobody scored in the first quarter. But then Bear River started to jump on. They go up. They score 3 touchdowns. 1 touchdown in the second quarter, 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. Ogden also got 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but then Bear River was still up by 1 touchdown. And then they pull away in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, had some exciting plays in the second half, some explosive plays, and we like to describe those as plays of 15 yards or more running by a running back, or 20 yards or more by a wide receiver, and they more than surpassed that on a couple of plays by Eli Brager.
Yeah, 4 receiving touchdowns for Eli Brager. Preston Wilkinson had 5 touchdowns. We'll play a couple of these. The first of these, this is one that came in the third quarter that put Bear River up by 2 touchdowns.
Corners now drop back deep. Wilkinson wants to throw. Here's the pass over the middle. It's complete to Brager. Makes one guy miss. He makes a second. It's a sprint to the end zone. Touchdown, Bear River. Eli Brager.
Yeah, so that was from 49 yards. And then later in the game, he got in from 54 yards. Though it was it was Trent Carter and Josh Tyre. And Josh, I included this part because he almost kind of called this next play that they had as they were commenting on the game.
Do you know what I'd call here, Trent? I would call put your receiver on the outside, fake like you're going inside, and then drop back to the outside and throw it over the shoulder, and I think you could be open on the outside.
3-step drop. Wilkinson throws deep down the right side. He has Brager. My goodness. Hits him in stride. Touchdown, Bear River.
So, yeah, Josh Tyre was like, I think you should put the receiver on the outside and just throw it deep. He did have the fake inside, which they didn't do, but they basically they hurled one deep, and that put Bear River up, I think, 29-13. Wilkinson added another 18-yard touchdown to Brager in the fourth quarter. That gets you the final score of 36-13 as Bear River pulls away from Ogden in the second half.
Yeah, great to see Bear River get out to a really solid start. New head coach. You see the Coach Craig Ander era getting underway for the Bears, and a nice first win to get them started.
So let's go to the game that happened at Juan Diego High School, though Juan Diego was not necessarily involved. Though I do have to I have to give props to Juan Diego for this Logan at Summit Academy. Summit Academy, their field is still getting worked on. They're behind schedule, the construction crew there. So they kind of had a last second get up to Juan Diego, and they were fantastic to work with, really helpful there for both sides, really. But Summit Academy hosting the Grizzlies. Summit Academy has a lot of transfers coming from like 5A schools. They're a 2A school.
Oh, wow.
They're bringing some transfers from some 5A schools. They went to the semifinals in the playoffs last year in 2A. They lost to the eventual champions. So this is a tough 2A squad and a Logan team that is trying to find its footing as a program again under new head coach Justin Hughey, as they're just trying to find something. And it didn't start off particularly well for the Grizzlies. They go down 8-0. They get one back or they get a field goal back to go down 8-3. At the end of the second quarter, and this was a game of kind of frustrating moments, I'll say. I don't want to harp on them too much. But they fumbled twice inside the 5.
Oh, no.
One of them was so they're on the goal line. They're down 8-3. They're on the goal line after this amazing play, and I got to show this play because it ended up being the bread and butter play of the game for KVNU. We'll call for the bread and butter play of the game for Skyview coming up in a little bit. And we'll probably have to have people texting because I don't think our phone lines are working.
Oh, they're not?
I haven't noticed them being. Are they still working?
I think this phone works. We can call out.
We'll try it. We'll try it out.
Yeah.
In a minute here. When we call for the bread and butter play of the game, we'll call for these. But this was the one for KVNU. It's already been sorted, I'm pretty sure. Amazing play by Jace Pingree for the Grizzlies.
As Favero will go with an empty set here. 3 wide receivers to his left. 1 to his right, or 2 to his right. Favero to throw, finds Pingree, caught, absorbs a hit. He stays up. The referees haven't blown the whistle. He stays up. He's on the run, trying to cross the field, getting around another guy, across the 25, across the 20, inside the 10, the 5, pushes all the way inside the 5-yard line.
I tell you what, he's...
Yeah, so Jace Pingree almost goes down, doesn't, runs 41 yards, but it was like the play after that. They fumble.
Oh, no.
So they had a chance to go up in the third quarter. And then Summit Academy they drive the other way. So after recovering that fumble, they go the other way, score a touchdown, go up 14-3. And that's a pretty demoralizing thing. But Logan rallied back, and on their next drive, they went down and they scored their first touchdown of the season.
Favero from the gun this time, 8:02 to go, 2nd and goal from the 1. Favero to throw. Throwing the outside route. Roy Sargent catches it. He's in. Touchdown, Logan Grizzlies.
Oh, boy. And that was
Yeah, so Roy Sargent, one of 2 touchdowns he scored in that game. I don't have a clip of the next one, but that was the first one. They go up they go to 14-11. Roy Sargent catches another touchdown. The Grizzlies go up 18-14. But then Summit Academy breaks off a 46-yard run, puts them in position to score. But the Grizzlies get them to 4th and 20. 4th and goal from the 20. Summit Academy converts, scores a touchdown.
Oh, my goodness.
They go up 21-18.
Back and forth game.
So with 2 minutes, 47 seconds to go, the Grizzlies have the ball. They drive down, and you think 2-minute drill, you're going to pass? No, they ran the ball in almost every single play. They drive down inside the 5-yard line. And there's I think there's about 17 or 18 seconds when the play goes, and they're on the 1-yard line. They don't have any timeouts left, so they got to make something work if they run it. You can hear me thinking they're going to pass it because of the situation, but they had a different idea.
And they're going to say he was out of bounds. They haven't started the clock. So give Mason Birch about 4 yards there. And
do it again.
You got
the same play.
You got to throw a pass play, I think. They're going to run a sneak.
He got it.
He's in the end zone. Touchdown, Grizzlies.
Wow.
So, yeah, they did not throw the ball. They
Did not
ran
listen
the
to
ball.
your advice.
Yeah, they didn't listen to my advice, which is
Thank
probably
goodness.
a good thing. Grizzlies go up 25-21. They closed out 17 seconds on the clock after they scored. The Grizzlies open up this new era under Justin Hughey with a 25-21 win over Summit Academy. Gritty win. There were some mistakes early on, but they overcame every single one of them to pull off the win.
Great. Certainly you don't want a game to be close like that if it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, they should have won this game like 38-21.
Really important coachable moments for a team with a new head coach to say, okay, look, we got out there, we got away with one, but now we know how to be a little bit more dialed in, a little more disciplined on these areas, because there may not be very many other games like that give us chances to still come back after making those kinds of mistakes.
So on to our next couple of games. We'll see if we can get through these two. We're coming up against a break here, but Green Canyon against Provo. This was another game that came down kind of to the last minute in the fourth quarter. Very defensive game. The Green Canyon, I think they had 11 net yards of rushing and 143 passing yards. But they managed to get themselves in position just outside the red zone, kind of midway through the second quarter, and Ethan Monk came up with a big play, connecting with his wide receiver. Make sure I got the right play queued up here on our highlight reel.
2nd and 11 from the Provo 27. Monk from just inside the left hash marks. Single back to his right. He's going to roll right off the snap looking for a pass. Poremski on the goal line. Underthrown. Poremski grabs it and sticks it over the goal line. Touchdown, Green Canyon.
Yeah, so Green Canyon gets their first touchdown of the day. Well, technically only touchdown of the day.
Yeah.
But they get the PAT. So they go up 7-0 in the second quarter. Provo pulled one back in the third quarter, a 4-yard run, but they missed the PAT. So Green Canyon still up 7-6. They tacked on a field goal to make it 10-6. But in the last couple of minutes, though, they still didn't have the job done. Provo was driving. They got down to their last gasp, 4th down and 10.
4th and 10. Empty backfield for King. Motion left to right. King looking to throw. Left side floater, way overthrown. Through the...
Yeah, so just kind of a poorly thrown pass, or really just a confusion there. But Green Canyon, good defensive stand. It was 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10, then 4th and 10. They held them in their own territory as Provo was trying to drive, and they had a decent game through the air. Their quarterback, Tamatoa King, he had 249 yards passing.
Wow.
Green Canyon did pick him off once, but he had a decent game through the air. But the Wolves managed to completely stuff them in the end and pull away with the 10, or well, not really pull away, but come away with the 10-6 victory over Provo.
Understand things got a little spicy in the stands.
A little bit.
Some of the parents or fans of
course, I've seen
respective schools.
I've seen some other headlines involving Provo, or maybe it's different Provo High School, but maybe one of the, I don't know. We don't need to get into all that.
Yeah, but regardless, it was a good win, a gritty win for Green Canyon. Defense really winning the day, despite Provo trying to get up and down the field, but really solid victory there for Green Canyon.
So final game to go over here, and it was the most exciting one, arguably, or I really loved the Logan game, to be honest. I thought maybe there's a little bit more scoring and back and forth, but this game between Skyview and Park City could not be settled within 4 quarters. They needed overtime. Of course, Park City actually got things started with a touchdown in the third quarter. Nobody scored in the first half. But Skyview, they managed to get things started in the third quarter with their offense on a pass from Peyton Palmer to Tucker Stokes. I got to make sure I got this one lined up properly.
So Skyview 1st and 10 on the 18 going in.
So Stokes throws it quickly on a wide receiver screen. They've got it. 10-5 touchdown.
It's Hurricane John Newbold and Casey Carlson there
Always
celebrating.
Exciting. They're a fantastic duo there. So yeah, touchdown there, and that would be the only scoring in regulation for Skyview. Park City only had their one touchdown in regulation. Park City went first in overtime. They got a 35-yard field goal, so by the sound of the length, they didn't really go anywhere. They might have even gone slightly backwards on their offensive possession in overtime. Or I guess they would have gone about 10 yards forward, or something like that. I don't know. They had to kick a 35-yard field goal.
Yeah.
They didn't get very far.
No, they went far
down the field. Skyview, they got themselves set up on the 7-yard line, needing a touchdown to walk off or a field goal to tie it.
3rd and 1. Here we go from the 6-yard line. 3rd and 1, Skyview in shotgun. They run a man in motion. They're going to run to the left.
Nice.
He's got it. First down.
Get in.
And touchdown!
Touchdown,
Skyview
Skyview! Skyview's going to win the football game.
So, yes, Skyview did, in fact, win the football game, as Kason Carlson said. Walk-off touchdown from Peyton Palmer. Fantastic stuff for the Skyview Bobcats as they cap off a undefeated day for Cache Valley teams, as all the teams that we cover here in our family of radio stations won their games over the weekend, which I can't remember the last time that happened.
It's been a minute. Yeah, Bear River, Mountain Crest, Skyview, Green Canyon, Logan, Ridgeline, they all came away with wins. Obviously, some a little more exciting than others. You can include Box Elder. They got a nice win in there as well. And what's interesting about the schedule this week is that there are going to be a number of familiar faces and games that are opponents that were on the schedule last week will be on the schedule this week, but for different teams. Like Park City, they just played Skyview. Well, this week they're going to play Ridgeline. Morgan last week played Ridgeline. Well, this week they're going to play Skyview. They're just trading teams for their opponents. But really exciting week last week for our local high schools. And you can go back and watch a lot of these games, replays. There's some photo galleries of some of them as well. They're all archived. And go check these out as high school football season is definitely underway.
All right, so we are going to take a break, and we'll go ahead and call for it now. The bread and butter play of the game for Skyview. If you want a hint, we played one of them over the airwaves just now. So go ahead and call. I got to check the number here, Eric, or maybe point it towards me. So it's not our text line number, our normal text line number. It's not that. If you try and call that, you're going to reach nowhere. So you need to call 435-994-8326. I'll repeat that for you in just a second here. 435-994-8326. Call in. I'll make Eric answer the phone. And if you can correctly identify the Old Grist Mill bread and butter play of the game, you can win 4 free loaves. Is it still 4 free loaves of bread from the Old Grist Mill?
It's free
bread. That's what they tell us. Okay, yeah. Free bread. You'll get that from. Make sure you got to call in to the number 435-994-8326. We'll take a break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. As we congratulate Bryce, who correctly identified the Old Grist Mill bread and butter play of the game. And it was that overtime touchdown.
Yeah, the walk-off touchdown for Skyview to get the win over Park City. Miners are always tough, and they always play Regional 11 teams pretty tough.
Particular Skyview.
Yes. So Skyview getting the win, getting the satisfaction of starting the season off on the right step. And congratulations to Bryce for the first person to call in and correctly identify the Old Grist Mill bread and butter play of the game.
So apparently the phone lines are working properly. So, and remember, you got to call, because if you try and call our text line number, I don't even think we have technically that you can use the Google number to make those calls, but like,
it's a text line number only.
It's a text line number only. You got to call in our phone line, which I think is apparently in our intro. So I guess the phone line does work. So,
like that.
Recapped all the high school games, some fantastic stuff, fantastic weekend of high school sports, helped by the fact that it was all wins. That's always nice.
Yes.
It's frustrating to have like an exciting game, but then you lose. Like with the Logan game, that was an up and down of emotions. Like I went from thinking, gosh, this game's kind of sucks because Logan should be winning this one, but they're not. And then suddenly they're up and then they go down again. And it's like all this frustrating stuff. But then the Grizzlies come away with the win, and it was pretty nice. 4781 on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line saying, the first thing I hear when I turn the car on is the Miners are usually tough. Took me a second, Eric.
Yeah, we're not talking about UTEP. Definitely not talking about UTEP.
No, not UTEP. They're usually a little easier to handle, as the Aggies have done all right against them in football and basketball.
8632, we see some text coming in about soccer. We'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah, we'll get to those later this hour. Currently, for now, we've got to talk about the next player on our top 25 Aggies of 2026. We're into the top 10, number 10, to be revealed today.
We've reached the top 10 in this year's Cache Valley Media Group Top 25 Aggies of 2026. And at number 10, we have place kicker Kian Efrukte. Kian transferred to Utah State this offseason. He previously played for Coastal Carolina in 2025, Nevada in 2024, Saddleback College in 2022 and 2023. His best season was with Coastal Carolina, where he earned all Sun Belt honors after hitting 15 of 19 field goals and hitting all 32 of his PATs in 12 appearances. He hit his career-long field goal of 44 yards against South Alabama last September and accounted for 14 points in a game against Marshall.
Yes, Kian Efrukte. That is a deceptively hard name to say. The syllables and vowels don't line up properly.
Yeah,
in my opinion, I should say.
This is a newcomer to Utah State. He's a kicker, and he's in the top 10.
Is he one of the highest? I got to get my master list. Is he the highest newcomer? I think he is the highest newcomer.
Everybody else has been here.
I guess that's a spoiler for the rest of the list, but most people could probably guess the rest of the list.
Yes, to some degree. On the roster last year, but we didn't. One of them on the roster, but we didn't really see.
That's true. So yeah, Kian. I'm just gonna keep calling him Kian. Yeah, solid kicker. Doesn't have like a career-long field goal to his name. That's not necessarily indicative of how far he could kick the ball from, but still decently accurate kicker. Missed 4 field goals on the season, but 15 and 19, solid for him. So you want to have a reliable kicker. That's what you want. The Aggies mostly, they had one for like half of the season, then struggled a little bit, but we've seen that from good kickers before. They're reliable, then they suddenly get the yips. It's happened to multiple Aggie kickers actually. So yeah, I'll be honest, I don't always want to put a kicker up in the top 10. I don't think where did I put Kian on
3
my
people
list?
put him in the top 10. 3 people in our ballots put him in the top 10. One put him at 20. And somebody left him off their ballot entirely.
I'm the one who put him at 20. So,
but this is kickers. they
Kickers
play an
are-
important role. They account for points. So if you have someone on your roster who accounts for points, they should be valued.
And they also have a very high-profile role in clutch games
Yes.
because of the way that you work down the field to try and get a last-second field goal. Obviously, PATs aren't always a guarantee. So that's something. And heck, Utah State has kind of won and lost games based off of poor field goal kicking. In some cases, they've won games based off of good field goal kicking. But last year was kind of more the former. So if, I kind of hope that Kean is among the top 10 players in terms of his impact, because that's something that will win you games, or at the very least won't lose you games. That's kind of the rough thing, is that usually you only talk about kickers when they lose you a game, but when they kick the game-winning field goal, it's like, well, he just done his job. So, but they still get carried off the field or whatnot when they make that game-winning field goal.
But certainly there's some degree of excitement in the preseason about Kean Frandsen and what his potential could be at Utah State. This is a guy who is a proven performer at Coastal Carolina. Phil Steele, preseason Pac-12 first team. Athlon Sports, preseason Pac-12 second team. So this is a guy that looks like he is continuing to build upon his success and coming in to be one of the top kickers in the Pac-12.
Yeah, so that's certainly what the Aggies will hope for this season. And Kean Frandsen is our number 10 player on our top 25 Aggies of 2026. Speaking of Utah State football, Eric, you had a chance to sneak into Utah State football practice on Saturday. Definitely watched the entire thing.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
But on a serious note, you had a chance to interview a couple of different athletes, Tyree Morris and Anthony Garcia, player on both sides of the ball. And we'll go ahead and get a chance to play the interview you did with Tyree Morris.
Before we play it, for those that are watching on YouTube,
Eric wants to defend himself.
I apologize. For the radio listening audience, it sounds great.
Yeah, it's going to be perfect. Flawless.
It's perfect. No problems at all. But I had it set up, and then once the interview started, Tyree Morris started inch closer to me and where I was, and I was watching him and not the camera, and so he slowly but surely inches out of frame.
We need to get the little spray cans that soccer referees have, and just draw it on the ground. Say, do not walk outside this area,
this arch, and do not move.
Yeah, because they always shuffle.
Yeah,
and they just.
He's just trying to get closer to me and my microphone. He's a large man, and he's trying to accommodate me and my shorter arms.
But let's hear from one of the guys who will be one of the key players for the Aggies, especially in that interior defensive line.
So Tyree Morris, defensive player for Utah State. You guys are about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks into fall camp so far. How would you assess how things are going so far?
I think it's going very good. The team is coming together. Everyone's doing their job, playing together. Like I said, we're just building that chemistry as a team, and I feel like it's coming together.
You're one of the guys who was here last year. You made a lot of improvements and a big impact on the field last year. How do you feel things are different at this point compared to where they were last year at this point?
Like I said, I feel like this team, as it was last year, it was a big amount of transfers coming in, and I feel like this year it's an early jump in, starting to come together. Like I said, coming together is a main point that I would say is getting us in that over that hump.
Do you feel like you're a little bit further ahead than you were?
Yes. I feel like learning-wise, player-wise, everything's going very well.
And then you're a guy that with experience coming back, Carson Touche. You also got Bronson Olivau, a few other guys, key guys on defense, that defensive front. Do you feel like, I guess, how do you feel with some of the new guys that have come in and supplemented what you guys are already doing and that experience that exists with you?
I feel like last year we had a core group, and we just added those missing pieces that left last year, and I feel like it's a big thing, and we're coming together, like I said, and I just feel like the D line is going to be a core part of this team, and I feel like we're coming together. We're coming into that role.
I hear you guys have a nickname for your group.
Oh, the Mob. Yep, the Mob. Yes, sir.
Tell me about that. Who came up with that?
It came through last year. I mean, like I said, last year that group was tight, and we all did everything together. Like, we stood up for each other, and it just carried on through the season. And this year, same thing.
I know you were just a week and a half into it, but where do you still feel like things need to keep going for the defense and for your unit specifically?
I feel like D-line, I speak for the D-line, we just keep making plays. Just show, like, your dominance and just beat the man in front of you, do your job.
Next Saturday, you guys have an opportunity to do a showcase for fans. What will they see when they come and watch you guys?
They're gonna see a relentless team. It's gonna be a little chirpy, and that's just who Utah State is, and we just live by that.
Utah State is going into the Pac-12. I know you don't have your game jerseys yet, but you will have a Pac-12 patch on your jersey. What does that mean to you?
It's an honor. I mean, coming from FCS, then going to the Mount West, and then going to the Pac-12, it's an honor to just have that patch, and I'm grateful.
You're a guy who's made that transition successfully from the FCS now to where you're at right now. What's that like, making that transition? Is it maybe overstated, or was it kind of a learning curve for you?
I would say definitely a big learning curve. I mean, something that I had to struggle with. Something that I struggled with was technique and all that, and it was just something that some things you can get away at FCS, you might not be able to get away here, and I just feel like that was my biggest issue. And I think this year, coming from last year, I'm able to really be able to learn and then just learn my the defense and all that.
Excellent. Well, Tyree, best of luck in fall camp, and we look forward to seeing you guys on Saturdays.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go Aggies.
There's me and the drifting Tyree Morris. And he had some teammates.
Hopefully, he's as good at getting around the camera feed, getting around offensive linemen as he is getting around the camera feed.
He had some teammates there who were kind of set up behind me, who were like trying to break his concentration, and he was really good. And then they noticed he was drifting, so they kind of like adjusted the camera slightly, adjusted my phone to make sure he stayed in frame.
Very helpful Utah State football players.
Yeah, so those were some voices you hear at the very end. But yeah, you know, I'm really excited to see Tyree Morris. It's a guy who came up elevated from the FCS to the FBS. And as he said, it was a big learning curve. But despite that, he was a pretty good impact player for USU and got better as the year went on. And just more time under his belt, more time, snaps on the field, more strength and conditioning, working on technique. I'm excited for his impact for Utah State in that defensive front.
So that's Utah State football. We'll get back to a little bit more of that. We'll have Anthony Garcia, that interview that you did with him at the top of the second hour. We'll also dive into a bunch of different rankings, a bunch of different things happening. AP Top 25 poll came out, so we'll have some thoughts on that as well. But coming up next, we're going to go into a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Utah State soccer. And my goodness, frustrating Sunday for them. We'll share those details next here on the Full Court Press.
Cache Valley's biggest garage sale is coming up on August 29th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's presented by DD Auto and Salvage, taking place at the Eccles Ice Center parking lot in North Logan. There'll be dozens of vendors on hand with furniture, tools, collectibles, home goods, and find all kinds of great deals there. Plus, there's free bouncy houses for the kids, and there'll be food trucks there as well. But if you want a booth, if you're trying to clear out some stuff, you can still sign up for your own booth, for your own space. Just go to CacheValleyGarageSale.com. We get all the details about the garage sale itself and how to have your own booth, CacheValleyGarageSale.com.
So on Sunday evening, under the lights, almost 1,200 people in attendance for Utah State soccer and their home opener against Michigan. They lost against number 15 Kansas, a 2-0 result in favor of the Jayhawks. Not that disappointing of a result. Obviously, a loss never good for the Aggies, but you're going up against the number 15 team. You've got some new things to figure out in your rotation, some new midfielders and attackers to work in, a new goalkeeper. So there's things they were working on. They were competitive for a lot of that game, holding off a good Kansas attack, but ultimately you lose 2-0. Regroup, figure it out. Going up against a Michigan team. Now this, I know it's a Big Ten team. I know it's a big name, but that's in like football and basketball. Like they aren't as strong in soccer. So this is a team that Utah State, like for a mid-major program of their caliber, this is a highly winnable game and one you would kind of almost expect them to win, even if it's a power conference opponent. And for much of this game, it was looking exactly like that. First few minutes, Michigan was kind of pressing the attack, but then the Aggies took control. And in the 19th minute, they get their first goal of the season, featuring Mia.
Play-in recently had 2 hydration breaks per half in their game at Kansas.
Oh, what a ball over the top. Mullenmeister has an empty net, chips with the left foot, goal! Maya Mullenmeister opens the bank account for Utah State in 2026.
So yes, Mia Mullenmeister, to be specific. 19th minute goal, assisted by Kata Wilson.
That was a big old kick, just to send it. To flip the field.
Yeah, no, and it caught the goalkeeper off guard. Like that's why Mia took that shot, is because the goalkeeper was scrambling back. She was caught way outside of her box, just trying to get back.
Not in position.
Yeah, and then she just puts one high arcing shot, put it in the right side netting, and it was fantastic. One of several chances that they were building to that point, but Mullenmeister finally breaks through. So first goal by Mia, and then in the 32nd minute, Mia scored again, although technically a different person.
Play-in recently had 2 hydration breaks per half in their game at Kansas.
Oh, what a ball over the top. Mullenmeister has an empty net.
Sorry, I played the first clip again. My bad. Let's actually play the correct one.
The other Mia.
The other Mia. See, I got confused.
Crossing lane, walks it down the end line, centering. Awkward touch. Hendricks might have had a beat to it. Now Lopez, left foot goal. Half volley. Mia Lopez, welcome back to Cache Valley.
So yeah, Mia Lopez, former Logan star, transferring to Utah State after spending a year down south, and fantastic goal. Kind of rebounded. They had to review it because they were trying to figure out if it hit one of the Aggie players in the arm when it deflected to Mia, but she takes it off the bounce, then chests it down, left-footed shot. 2 left-footed goals for the Aggies. Mia Lopez, very technical in that finish. That's a shot that
through a crowd of people.
Yeah, and 9 times out of 10, I see people at all levels just put that one 20 feet over the bar. But she slides that in the left post. Goalkeeper, with all the crowd and with the speed and the placement that Lopez put on it, no chance for the keeper. Those 2 were 2 of the 9 shots on goal that the Aggies produced throughout the game. So they go into halftime up 2-0. And then Michigan slowly inched back. They got a goal that was kind of shades of Utah State in 2024, where a lot of times they just send a ball in the box and it would happen to be on frame and they'd score from about 30 yards out. And Ella Jablinski got one of those for Michigan as it caught Ali Grashoff off guard as she was expecting a cross. Then all of a sudden it was coming toward and she backpedaled, couldn't get to it, goes in the left corner. That was in the 69th minute. Aggies were holding on up until the literal last second of the game.
Countdown is on. 7 seconds left, all the way up top. Long cross coming in towards the far post. Grassoff lets it go in. Grassoff missed it on the bounce, and the Wolverines equalize at the buzzer.
As if you haven't noticed, Stockton Jukes on the call there, who also calls our Green Canyon games. Literal last second goal. That buzzer you hear was the end of the game. They technically had to come back for a kickoff to play literally 1 second because they reviewed to make sure the ball went in the net before the buzzer goes off. But yeah, LA5.
One of those awkward bounces.
The goalkeeper's worst nightmare.
misjudged.
There were kind of two goalkeepers' worst nightmares because one of them was suddenly you're backpedaling trying to realize a cross is on frame. That's tricky. But there, again, both goals for Michigan were not really shots. They were crosses or lofted balls into the box.
Chuck it near the goal and hope something happens.
And so it was just a tricky bounce, and you're expecting it to deflect off a defender, an offensive player, and then suddenly it doesn't. And you have 0.2 seconds to react. And at that point, it's have you got yourself good positioning and inhuman reflexes? Unfortunately, Grashoff has neither. She's not inhuman, and she just didn't have quite the positioning she needed for that to make what would have been kind of a lucky save there. So literal last second goal goes in for Michigan. The Aggies go from win in their season opener in 1 second to, I was literally typing out the final Aggies win 2-1 when Michigan scored that goal. And I had to change it a little bit.
Good thing you didn't hit send.
Yeah, change my reporting there as the Aggies go from a victory to a tie, and so they're winless through 2 games. I forgot to check how long it's been since they've been winless through 2 games, but I know compared to last year, the Aggies have given up 4 goals in their first 2 games. It took them 5 games last year to give up 4 goals. And that included some really tough, mind you, it's really some tough opponents at the start of this year. But the defense hasn't been as on point. The offense was really good in this game. And I think did enough to win the game, but the defense just wasn't as disciplined in the second half as we've typically seen under Manny Martins. This is a very uncharacteristic defense from the Aggies under Martins.
Yeah. I feel bad the way that this has started a little bit, but Sunday's game is one of those where it's like, this team is good enough. Just those little mental lapses can really cost you in tight games against good opponents. And unfortunately, you have to have that lesson taught the hard way in that loss on Sunday, a game that they should have won going away. But instead, just a few little lapses and not being totally committed to every detail allowed just some lucky bounces to go Michigan's way. And instead of a 2-0 win, it's a 2-2 draw.
Yeah. We got some texts coming in on that topic, but we got to hit a break. When we come back, we'll get to some of those texts and we'll wrap up the first hour here on the Full Court Press. on over to Napa Auto Parts. They got the blue 5-gallon buckets for $4.99. You can save $15 a pair on Rain-X premium wiper blades. Last week proved that you do, in fact, need those around here in Cache Valley. Napa Premium Def for 2.5 gallons for $8.99. All that and a whole lot more at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts. They got stores from Preston all the way down to Providence. A couple of texts on our Young Power Sports with Logan text line 8632 saying, I understand the women's soccer team has the hardest non-conference schedule out of all G5 schools, but I'm very disappointed. You can't lose a game like that. And yes, tie is a loss. And yeah, like that. Yeah, Utah State has a tough schedule. And like, I sugarcoated the loss against Kansas when it happened. Not really going to sugarcoat this. This is a game Utah State should have won.
Yeah.
Like, and especially like you can see games like that where like the Aggies, they outshot Michigan 16-5. And you know, created a lot more chances overall, whether or not a shot happened or not. Like, and you've seen some of those games where you end up losing that game 1-0 or you tie 0-0 or it's 1-1. That just happens in soccer sometimes. When you're up 2-0 and you're controlling a game, there's no excuse to lose that. And that's just the way it is. The best news about all this is that Utah State has a chance to rebound. Season doesn't end just because of 2 poor results in your first 2 games.
Yeah.
So Utah State has every opportunity to learn and grow. What's been lost in these first 2 results is getting, you know, really high rankings, potential for like an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. I don't know if the latter of that is like completely lost. Depending on how the Aggies do, especially got, you know, game against BYU, that can be a signature win if you manage to pull that one off. But like, you know, the 2024, was it 2024 or 2023? I forget which one, where like they won all of these tough non-conference games and they ended up ranked in the top 15.
Right.
That's something that's obviously not going to happen with losing these 2. Well, losing one result, tying the other feels like a loss.
Feels like a loss. Yeah.
So that's something you're not necessarily going to get. And then, you know, Michigan tied against Utah Valley. And Utah State's got to go play Utah Valley. They've also got to play BYU. They've got more and more tough games. So it's not going to get easier. They don't get to go rest and recover against a team that's easy to beat. They're playing Portland next, and I believe they lost to Portland last year. So, but the Aggies have an opportunity to learn and get better from this. And they have to.
Yeah, they have to.
They absolutely have to.
Another text from 8632. Also, the issues almost entirely stem from goalkeeping. Got to fix that.
I don't know. Like, obviously, both goals were more on the goalkeeper than they were the defense. The first is one where the goalkeeper just read the ball a little bit better, have a little bit better positioning, and sometimes just about athleticism. And not everybody necessarily has that. The second one, part of that's on the defense. Obviously, the goalkeeper kind of misjudged. Maybe she should have come off her line and just go catch that ball. But the defense also should have put a foot or a head on that ball, and they didn't. They just let it bounce and hope the goalkeeper got it. But the goalkeeper, you gave the goalkeeper 0.2 seconds to react to it. She's not the Flash.
Yeah.
So that's I know that definitely some of both of those goals was on the goalkeeper. Especially the first one, but I think the second one was also on the defense, and especially like letting Michigan get into that position where they could put a ball into the box in the last second. And they went from allowing 0 shots in the first half to allowing 5 shots, 4 of them on goal in the second half. So the defense allowed more chances in the second half. They got a little complacent. So there's blame to go around. And then the offense didn't do anything in the second half.
Yeah,
they didn't get enough. They didn't get enough shots on goal.
Add some security goals or insurance goals, if you will.
So that's something that didn't go as well for them. I think another text 8632. We're talking about kickers, saying that 8632 saying they miss Dominic Eberle more and more every year.
He was solid.
As well. He was really good for the Aggies. That's going to do it for us here in this first hour. Don't go away. We got Utah State football and more coming up in the second hour here on The Fan. Welcome on back in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. Streaming online at 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. Also streaming online on YouTube. The Fan KLGN is where you can check out our YouTube, our video streams of our show. So however you're listening, however you're watching, we're glad to have you in.
Yes.
Also on the podcast feed at 1069thefan.com or pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to send in your thoughts to the show, share your thoughts on any of the topics we're covering, or if you want us to cover a topic, send them in to 435-339-0321. We had a few texts that we didn't get to, or well, there's one, because it's kind of a topic. I know Braden Clark highlighted this on social media. There was kind of a change in what's going on with like the Ohio, that injunction that allowed players to enter the transfer portal and commit to new schools. And the long and short of it is that seemingly the ruling kind of defaulted to what like the Colorado ruling is, where it isn't allowing players to enter the transfer portal. It's just granting them another year of eligibility, which affects a couple of the players involved in that. Well, it affects one of them. MJ Collins already entered the transfer portal, so he still is going to Cincinnati. Colby King had not entered the transfer portal, but he, after that Ohio injunction, ended up committing to Auburn. Lawsuit said he was going to go play for Cincinnati. He didn't. He went to Auburn instead. Yeah. So I guess lying in a lawsuit's okay like that, but, you know, it is what it is. So, but I guess it said he intends, so I guess it's not really a lie. It's just...
Well, there has to be a roster spot available for him.
Yeah, and I guess Jared Calhoun or Colby King felt like, you know, there were two roster spots open on Cincinnati. He could have gone there, but that connection didn't end up working, despite early intentions for it to. But with that kind of stay of part of the ruling, Colby King can't go anywhere. And classes start in a couple of weeks for these players. They start late August, early September. Colby King now, because of that, it's a lot like with the Colorado ruling. Players get another year, but they can't enter the transfer portal unless they had already entered it like MJ Collins did, who he still gets to go to Cincinnati. So does Colby King come back to Utah State? Does he try and wait out something with the rulings to maybe get back to Auburn? Or does he put all his chips there, and then if it doesn't work out, he just goes pro? Of course, most pro contracts are being signed like right now because their season's going to start up pretty quick.
Yeah, their camps are going to be starting here soon, before too long.
So I don't know. Does Colby King look to come back to Utah State with the Aggies? Like, they have a literal physical spot for him, but do they have a spot like in the rotation? Do they have room for a 6'2" guard in a roster where a lot of the strength's already in the front court? So it'd be an interesting situation. It's one to keep an eye on. The Aggies have already lost out on a couple of potential targets. One of them was Ben Schweiger, who didn't get another year of eligibility, although other players in a very similar situation to him got another year of eligibility. So I don't know what the heck happened there, but he goes and signs with the Polish pro club. Trey Campbell signed with Utah. I guess he confused Utah and Utah State, signed with the wrong one. He's like, I thought the color was blue. Why is all this red around here? It's like, no. The Trey Campbell goes to Utah, who I don't know if he was ever actually a target for the Aggies.
Because that's certainly somebody who had connections to Ben Jacobson.
Yeah, connections to Ben Jacobson. That's why that's why I say a potential target. Maybe there was something there, but the Utah Utes will end up with him instead as a key player for them. So that's something to keep an eye on. And of course, the 1818 was texting in about this, saying, you guys, what on earth is going on over in Ohio with the Ohio hearing? Does this mean Colby King can only come and play for the Aggies next season? And yeah, as I was kind of summarizing, my understanding, of course, I'm basing mine off of Braden Clark's interpretation. This is following my trend of listening to people who are smarter than I am. That interpretation is that, yeah, for now. That's the problem, is all of this is always, well, for now. Because things keep changing. Utah State football is trying to get Bryson Taylor back because for now, like he's the only option for. He's the only team that he can come and play for because the Colorado ruling is the only one that applies to him. So he gets a 5th year, maybe if the NCAA can't get a stay on this injunction. But as far as I know, I don't think he's with Utah State yet. I haven't heard anything as to whether or not Bryson Taylor is with Utah State. Eric, next time you sneak into practice, maybe you can ask.
Yeah.
Maybe you can ask anyway, officially, and be like, is Bryson Taylor with the team? I mean, it might be something they'd officially divulge. Bronco was certainly willing to talk about it openly. We just haven't had a chance to talk to him again in the last couple of weeks since we talked to him at Utah State Media Day.
Well, okay, so, yeah, the latest on this is according to On3. The NCAA did pick up a victory today in this over the age-based eligibility stuff. But essentially saying, it will not apply retroactively. Meaning members of the class of 22 wouldn't get an extra year, but those 15 athletes in that Ohio lawsuit would be. But anyway, it's complicated. But the NCAA.
So if they say it's not applying retroactively, does that mean that Colby King gets to stay at Auburn?
Yes. Well, I don't. I'm trying to read as we go here. Trying to make sense of
trying
this.
to interpret legal documents in real time, and unfortunately, neither of us are well geared for that.
So yeah, we'll try to keep.
We'll try and keep an eye on this while we maybe try and sort this out. Let's go to something that Eric you did over the weekend, and that's speak with Utah State wide receiver and overall gadget player Anthony Garcia, talking to him about the fall camp and this upcoming season for the Aggies, where Garcia might have a lot of things that he's doing, much like he did last year.
Anthony
Countdown
Garcia,
is on.
wide
7
receiver,
seconds left.
gadget.
Never mind. Hold on. Let's try that again.
Anthony Garcia, wide receiver, gadget man for Utah State. I want to first start off with, you guys have been doing this practices now for about a week and a half.
Sir.
So just your assessment of fall camp so far.
I think it was really really good to come out and just see how we came out right away, and the work we put in the summer. It really showed that first week especially. It was surprising just being on the same page with the quarterbacks, with the O-line, with the receivers. Like everybody was kind of meshed very well right away, and that was really encouraging to see just right away coming into fall camp. So it was really good, and it was cool to come out here today and go live and see how some of these runs in practice that are getting whistled down and calling down early, how they broke out and how it looked in a live situation.
You are one of the few experienced guys in the wide receiver room and some of the other skill positions on offense. How have you tried to help other guys like integrate into Utah State and get caught up to speed in what's expected of them under Coach Mendenhall?
Yeah, I mean, I try to let guys be themselves, obviously, but in any way I can help, I try to help. I've played the quarterback position, I played receiver, so when I'm talking to quarterbacks, I know how to use their lingo and understand what they're thinking when I'm out there running routes. And then when I'm at receiver in those meetings, I'm helping these guys think from a quarterback's perspective and think like, I got to get this depth because this quarterback is coming on this time. And I just try to help from both perspectives, and I think it's really cool, like talking to McKay, Grady, and these quarterbacks and explaining to them what it looks like from our perspective as well. So I think it's been a huge advantage for both rooms and the team as a whole. So it's been
yeah, man, what an awesome asset.
Yeah.
Talk about the wide receivers. There's some guys who were back. We maybe didn't really see them, very many of them. Some were battling injuries, so that they were robbed of a season because of that. But there's some newcomers too. So how would you kind of assess how that wide receiver core is coming together so far?
It's coming together great. We got every type of receiver you could want in the offense. We got speed, we got size, we got strength. With Eli Wood coming in, J-Rob coming in, Rex coming in, Meek coming back from injury. We got young guys who can go, who are surprising us in fall camp. Guys who are returning freshmen coming back for their second season that are balling out. So, I mean, from top to bottom, we got guys who can go. We got a lot of freshmen coming in, too, who are just working their way in, figuring out the speed and stuff, but really encouraged by our room, even being a quarterback, being with other receiver rooms in the past. Like, it's a really good room. We've got every type of receiver you could want.
Describe Robert and how he's working through the offense and how you guys are understanding what he's trying to accomplish?
Yeah, a word he uses a lot is freedom in this offense, and it's so awesome being a receiver in this offense. You should never be able to be covered. You have so many options to change a route, if it's man, if it's zone, and I feel like he really gives us the play, but when it comes down to it, it's what we want to do with it. And I mean, that's so awesome at this level, especially. And that's why this summer, that all the work we've put in with the quarterbacks and the off time we've been putting together and just meeting by ourselves, player-led stuff, it's been awesome to get on the same page with the quarterbacks. And if they see a look, we see a look, we're thinking the same thing and we're on the same page. So it's been really cool to just have that freedom in this offense. And I love Coach Anai. He's a fun guy. He's really cool. And I'm really excited for this season.
I hope you're not offended when people say that you are a gadget man, because you're going to use it a lot of different ways. But that's what we saw last year. Is there opportunities for you similar this year?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, one of my fellow receivers asked me that if it frustrated me to be called that, and I told him not at all. I mean, I really take it as just being really good at a lot of things. So no, I don't take offense to it. And then also, yes, I do believe that we should be looking forward to some plays with getting me the ball in different situations this year. So, yeah.
From the outside looking in, and again, I haven't been to practices, I haven't seen the scrimmage very much, but it looks like an experienced offensive line. There's certainly an emphasis on lead blockers for the running game. So it kind of feels like there's going to be more of a rushing attack with this offense. How does that help the wide receivers, though?
I mean, it helps us out a lot. I mean, having a good run game is going to open up the pass game tremendously. So it's really encouraging to see that we have O-linemen coming back, and we have veterans, and we have a lot of leaders in that O-lineman room as well, vocally, and that'll show you what to do with their own actions. But it's really good to have a good run game as a receiver, because that's going to open up the pass game, and it's going to make the defense scared of the run game, and it's going to open it up for us. So it's really encouraging to have a run game like we have.
You went through it last year, back here for another season. How do you feel things are right now compared to where they were a week and a half into practice last year?
Man, it's crazy. I feel like we're a lot closer this year as a whole, like football and outside of football-wise. Like, this summer was really huge for us, and I feel like I've been with this team for 2 years now, and half of the team just came in January and even in the early summer. And this year feels a lot different. Just even coming out week one, like I said, we felt so connected and on the same page. It felt a lot different than last year, so I'm really encouraged by it.
This next Saturday is an opportunity for the fans to come and watch you guys. You're going to have like a family fun day, kind of a scrimmage event. What are they going to see from the offense when they show up on Saturday?
They're going to see efficiency. They're going to see explosive plays. They're going to see run game. They're going to see everything that you'd want to see out of an offense. But I think they should come, and they're going to be really encouraged for this season as well with what they see.
Very good, Anthony Garcia. Really looking forward to seeing you on Saturdays here at Utah State.
Sir, thank you.
Yeah, so a lot of fun talking to Anthony Garcia. He doesn't mind being called the Gadget Man.
That's good, because I called him Gadget Man when we introduced the interview, so that would have been really awkward if he's like, I hate that term.
Yeah, I really prefer if you don't use that. But he has a really unique perspective that I'm growing to appreciate. In the fact, especially in a season where you're getting a new quarterback, new quarterbacks. They're under center for Utah State. This is a guy who knows what it means to be a quarterback. He knows what it means to be a wide receiver. He knows what it means to be a running back. Like, he has done all of these things, so he can lend a unique perspective when talking to the quarterbacks. Like, I know what you normally like to see, and this is what you're seeing. This is also what I'm seeing when I'm out here running these routes or what I'm trying to execute these plays. So he really provides a really unique perspective to help McKay Hillstead and others know how to better execute the plays. The other thing that really stood out to me, too, in my conversation with him was talking about Robert Anai and how Coach Anai is trying to instill a level of confidence and freedom among these offensive players, that when they feel confident in what they're trying to do, that opportunities really open up for them, and they should feel confidence in how to execute that. And it's not necessarily a rigid structure that you have to do it my way. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and you just need to trust me. Do it my way or the highway. It's not that. It's based on years of experience. Coach Anai understands what yields great results with his players, and he wants to have them feel like they have that freedom But obviously, so there have to be certain parameters where you can most effectively execute that. But he's trying to give them confidence.
Yeah, I mean, as you get further and further along, or further and further up the ladder, going from little league to professional. Like when you're in little league, as coaches, you just got to run the plays, the way we call it, because this is literally the first time you've ever picked up a football. Right. You got to kind of listen to me a little bit, because I'm going to maybe know more than you. Still, there may be some player feedback there that coaches can listen to, but the further and further up the ladder you get, you'll have guys who have spent like a decade playing football. They'll have gone through college. They'll have been stars working with their coaches. And when you get to college, you get a few years in. You've been in college systems before. You've seen things. You have experience. You Anthony Garcia, seeing things as a quarterback, seeing things as a wide receiver, being on both sides of that. So, yeah, he's going to have feedback. And then with the coaches, the better coaches at the college and pro levels are going to be able to work with their players, not so much as drill sergeant in private.
Yeah.
Where the one side has all the power and it's his way or the highway. That's a working relationship. That's a two-way relationship where you're working with them to game plan something. Quarterback says, this is what I see. I'm seeing this on film. The offensive coordinator says, this is what I see. Put your heads together and figure it out. And everyone in the offense is part of that process. Obviously, they kind of break down to their little groups, have their wide receiver and quarterback and running back meetings, but they'll have meetings all together, share everything, and work together as players. And so, yeah, your best offensive coordinators aren't going to say, we're going to run this style, and you better learn to run this style because that's that. Mm-hmm. Good offensive coordinator is going to say, well, I like to run this style, but you know what? We don't have the style of players, because one thing you begin to learn with college and NFL is like fit matters almost as much, if not more, than actual talent. Like if you get somewhere where you fit, then that matters. If you go somewhere like the Jets or the Browns, doesn't matter if you're talented. You're kind of screwed anyway.
You're stuck.
And that's where good coaches and good programs and good systems can maintain their spot at the top or always be at the bottom. It's because they have good systems, good coaches that, it doesn't matter if the players are uber talented or only sort of talented. They're going to maximize their talent. And the teams that maximize their talent end up with more W's at the end of the day.
Yeah. So Anthony Garcia, really special talent for Utah State, can do a lot of different things. Maybe he gets used in other ways. Maybe, I don't know.
Rumor is he can punt. We'll see if he actually gets out there.
Yeah, Bronco trying to make people think about other things that he could do. But really excited to see him continue to grow. Very mature athlete, very skilled. And going to be one of the experienced guys in that wide receiver room, which I think could be really interesting to see that collection of wide receivers there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's one that I don't think a lot of people are super excited about, but I know inside Utah State, they're really excited about that. So we'll see how that goes. Before we go to break, we had time to, speaking of putting our heads together, me and Eric, we both went over the reviews and summaries once again, just to make sure we're on the same page here. Looking at the reporting from On3, just like what the Ohio Court of Appeals granted a motion to stay the injunction of that initial Ohio ruling. It's Borovichinen versus NCAA. If you recognize that name, the kid played for New Mexico a few years ago.
Yeah.
And there are 15 players involved in that. As we mentioned before, those 15 players were granted a fifth year of eligibility and the ability to go into the transfer portal, even though the window is long since closed. The stay of injunction means that fifth year and the ability to go into the transfer portal are both gone according to the Ohio ruling. However, the Colorado ruling then takes over for those 15 athletes, as it does for everyone in the country. So essentially, throw the Ohio ruling out, all those players are now under the Colorado ruling, which grants a fifth year, but not the ability to enter the transfer portal if you didn't do so already back when the original window was open.
It does not create a new portal window.
Yeah, so MJ Collins entered that portal. Others did not. There are a few players that did enter the transfer portal, maybe anticipating getting that fifth season. A lot didn't. So the ones that weren't prepared are suddenly looking at either going back to their team that they were on in 2025 or just moving on with their lives, or maybe hoping that or joining a lawsuit to try and enter the transfer portal. But the season starts in a couple of weeks, so there's not much time for all that to happen.
Yeah, so a lot of these other players who were trying to find new homes, from how I understand that's been undone. Like MJ Collins Colby King cannot commit to Auburn because he wasn't in the portal originally. So he has a 5th year of eligibility at Utah State if he chooses to use it.
Yeah, if he chooses to use that, and if the Aggies want to bring him in.
Allow him to
if there's mutual interest there, you could potentially see that, but that's a big I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see how all this shakes out. Things continue to change. That's the problem. We can say for now, players are under the Colorado ruling, which is itself being appealed and may get revoked. We could see a lot of these players, like Gonzaga's added like 2 or 3 of these guys. Cincinnati added MJ Collins. What happens if the Colorado ruling gets overturned, if there's a stay of injunction there with the Colorado ruling, much like there was a stay in the Ohio case? I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yes, as the...
And what happens if there's a stay of injunction? What happens if those athletes ultimately win in that Ohio case and they get an extra year of eligibility next year? Yeah. What happens then?
It's crazy. Every week is something different.
Yeah, it truly is with this eligibility stuff. There's also a lawsuit involving Little League Baseball, which because there was a team that they were ruled to have cheated because of stuff. It's always stuff involving boundaries with these Little League teams. I won't go into detail, but they were ruled ineligible because of stuff with the boundaries. And then they sued, got an injunction to replay a championship game that they would have played in had they not been ruled ineligible by the boundary rules. And so they were going to play that, but then right before that game happened, I think there was an appeal and it got overturned. So there was all this. It had a lot of the
back
same.
And forth.
It had a lot of the same feels about all these lawsuits over eligibility, where it's basically we're litigating these things through injunctions from judges, and it's just we're really abusing the system, guys.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So
we need to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, it's preseason ranking time. AP released their preseason rankings. There's a few other people who have their own different ratings that they've put out. So we'll look at those. Some familiar names that you'll see on Utah State's schedule. And where do the Aggies or other Pac-12 schools land on some of these lists? So we'll take a look at that coming up on the Full Court Press. Birdie's Golf Lounge has top-of-the-line launch monitors with 3 internal cameras that provides really accurate readings for every part of your game. So you can go check out the helpful tips that are provided there, the great analysis of your game, and you can also have some fun. They got over 2,000 courses available, mapped with the latest LiDAR. So go check them out, 650 North, 870 West in Logan.
So real quick on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 6543 asking, are we doing the Old Grist Mill play of the game today? Answer is yes. We already did it, though. So
yeah, we did that last hour.
So we'll usually lead off the show with the high school roundup every Monday. At least for now, when Utah State season starts, they might get priority. We'll see.
And congratulations to Bryce.
Yeah, he's the one who won that. Yeah, he won that today. So we've already done that and given away. But every week throughout the season, you'll have a chance.
The walk-off touchdown for the Bobcats in their overtime win over the Park City Miners.
Yeah, so we'll have that every week, chance to win free bread from the Old Grist Mill. We also do that on KVNU for Logan games. So
yeah,
opportunities to win from watching 2 different teams here in Cache Valley. The AP poll came out today at 10 a.m. our time, and surprise, surprise, Utah State didn't show up.
Oh,
I'm surprised they didn't show up. It seemed so likely.
8632. USU not on the top 25. The AP's bias against USU truly is egregious.
Yeah, it's absolutely atrocious. But yeah, Ohio State number 1, which apparently there's a curse on the AP first team, because like of the last 22 AP number 1 teams in the preseason, only 2 of them have won the championship or finished number 1 in the AP.
It's not a great track record.
Last time it happened was 2017, I think it was. Ohio State 1, Oregon 2, Georgia number 3, Notre Dame number 4, and then Texas number 5. The reigning champions, Indiana, at 6, and then the runner-up, Miami, at 7. So, and then Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma round out the top 10. Looking at the AP poll, familiar names, at least ones to keep an eye on. Number 17 is Washington, one of the Aggies' opponents, their Week 2 opponent, and then their Week 3 opponent is number 21, the Utah Utes, led by first-year head coach Morgan Scalley. Those are the only familiar names inside the top 25, though there were a few teams that received votes that the Aggies can certainly keep an eye on. Boise State coming in at nominally 28th. They received 43 points as they were the 3rd team in the others receiving votes category. The number 25 team got 117 points. So there's an idea of how far out the Broncos were from getting in the top 25. A few other familiar names out west. You had UNLV with 4 points. New Mexico also with 4 points. And then I think that was pretty much it. Well, did San Diego State get one? I don't think they did.
I don't think they got any points.
They got one in the coaches poll, I believe, but not in the AP poll. So only one Pac-12 team that shows up anywhere within the preseason AP poll voting, but not in the top 25. In fact, no G6 teams made it in the top 25 of either the coaches or the AP poll, which seems to be a more common trend these days, despite the fact that you always end up with like 3 or 4 G6 teams in the top 25 by the end of the season. But nobody's convinced they'll be any good at the beginning of the year. It's like Joe Lunardi. Every year, the Mountain West was going to be a 1-bid league every year for 20 years. Then it finally happened, so he was vindicated.
Right.
And now they're going to be a 1-bid league. Probably, we'll see. New Mexico and Grand Canyon are looking pretty good, especially because Grand Canyon, they got Jaden Henley back.
Interesting note from Brett McMurphy on release of the top 25. Well, this was anticipation of the top 25. It hadn't been released yet. But he says, when AP poll is released at noon Monday, remember these 2025 preseason top 25 teams all finished last year unranked. And there was, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
12, jeez.
12. Almost half of the preseason teams finished the season unranked.
Yeah, I need to go back, and I feel like somebody must have done this research already. I tried to dig up if somebody had done this already, like how accurate is the preseason AP poll? Like everyone knows it's not accurate, but I want to quantify how inaccurate. I mean, there's the fact that the AP number one team only twice in the last 2 decades plus has won the championship. Like, that's obviously something where like you take pride. You know, the teams release, oh, we're preseason number one. You know, Ohio State probably put out a graphic, and it's like, well, I don't know about that.
Don't
man.
celebrate too much.
Of course, then Indiana gets 8 number one votes overall. They end up 6. So like, seemed like there were 8 preseason votes, which, to be honest, 8 number one votes overall, and you end up 6th. Like, how far down the ballot were people putting Indiana?
Yeah,
like some were like very much. I imagine for a lot of those 8, it was they're the reigning champions until somebody says otherwise. So I'm going to put them number one. But then some people apparently hate him because they're probably putting him down in the teens for them.
Don't want him to get up there.
8 first place votes. Like Oregon, who finished 2nd, they got 14. Like Notre Dame was 4th, they got 6th. Like, how far down were some of these? I should go look at, because a lot of times their ballots do get publicly released. So
yeah.
I might have to go look at some of those.
Yeah, those are
aggregators.
Those are like what 60 or 70 writers and
something like that,
and broadcasters across the country who submit their ballots for that comprise the Associated Press top 25 rankings every week. But so no group of 6 teams in the top 25. But this wasn't the only rankings that came out. Bill Connolly updated his SP Plus top 771.
I love that Bill Connolly just goes all in on these.
Yes,
this is every FBS, FCS, Division II, and Division III team, and
NAIA.
And so 771.
I feel bad for Maine Maritime, who is listed as 771. They are the 771st best football team in America, according to Bill Connolly.
The worst college football team in the NCAA.
Yes.
That's got to be a really fun
So it's a lot of
designation.
schools to go through and try to rank, but we're not obviously going to go through all of them. But looking at the Pac-12 and just the teams of note on Utah State's schedule. But Boise State, unsurprising, coming in at the highest at 49. San Diego State at 65. Fresno State at 73. Texas State not that far behind at 77. Washington State 86. Oregon State 89. Utah State 96. Colorado State 110. So the surprise for me is just how high Oregon State is on this list. But it wasn't the only ranking that came out today. PEAR, P-E-A-R, is another statistical ranking that comes out. Looks at college football teams. Not a lot of difference as far as on the top end, but there is notable differences throughout Pac-12. Boise State at 49, okay, very similar. San Diego State at 60. Washington State at 72. Texas State at 74. Then we find Fresno State at 78, followed by Utah State at 83, Colorado State at 115, and Oregon State at 117.
Not too bad.
Yeah, interesting how there are some differences here and how they're using different statistical models to rank different teams. Now, granted, the Bill Connolly's, as we mentioned, it's all teams across all divisions. So there are a few FCS teams that are ranked above some Mountain West teams. Like Montana
teams?
Excuse me, Pac-12 teams. Yeah, Montana State, South Dakota State, Montana. They're all ranked above Colorado State. But it's Utah State's going to face one of these FCS teams, Idaho State.
Yeah, they're ranked 153rd, so they're like low-level FBS essentially. Like UTEP is at 145, Southern Miss is at 151. Like those are FBS teams. New Mexico State, they're at 142. So Idaho State, who's coming off of one of their stronger years in recent memory. In fact, I wrote a preview on Cache Valley Daily, an opponent preview, trying to work through the rest of the schedule, get those out before the season starts. But Idaho State's a decently strong FCS team.
They are.
More particularly on offense, their defense. I mean, like last time the Aggies faced them, Idaho State put up 28 points against the Aggies. The Aggies put up 73.
Yeah.
So that's that we may or may not see something similar this year, where Idaho State will test Utah State's defense, but we'll see about the defense. And Idaho State has like 4 former Aggies, I think, on their team.
They've got a number of them.
Yeah, not all of them are going to play a massive role, but there are a few familiar names that you might notice that played for Utah State in recent years. So yeah, that's the full 771. Its main benefit is to kind of give a perspective on where Utah State's FCS opponent is, and this year it's a stronger. It's stronger than most years.
Yeah, and then the other teams on Bill Connolly's list: Washington coming in at number 18, Utah at number 30, and Troy coming in at number 97.
Yeah.
So Troy is in the mix with some of the other teams on the bottom end of the Pac-12.
So I do need to point out these rankings, Eric. RJ Young, ultimate 138 college football rankings, and a graphic that looks like it was made by ChatGPT. These have to be the ultimate rankings, Eric. I believe the top G6 team, North Dakota State, number 26. Hawaii at 38.
What?
Boise State at 50.
Is he on drugs?
Well, I guess funny. Like San Jose at 63. Oh, where's UNLV at? I'm trying to find them on here. San Diego State at 113.
What in the world?
UNLV at 46. New Mexico at 47. Washington State. Here's a fun one. You want to guess where Washington State is?
40th.
135. You want to guess where Utah State is?
Lower than that.
129, actually. So a little bit better. Behind Nevada, Oregon State's at 127. This was the most amazing ranking I think I've ever seen in my life. And the dude wrote a whole article. This is RJ Young. He wrote a whole article justifying all these. Of course, he didn't really justify any of them. He just wrote a quick summary about the team. And you couldn't guess where they were ranked based on reading the summary. So it was an interesting ranking.
Silly season.
Yeah, it is silly season. It's also silly season racing season, but that's a whole different thing. So this might be, and mind you, preseason rankings are all dumb anyway. But this one might be the dumbest. I think of Washington State, it's either a fan or reporter, I forget. I think it was a reporter, basically saying, I don't know, he'll summarize, I don't know how good Washington State will be, but I don't think there are going to be 134 teams better than them by the end of the season. It's like,
no.
Look, I don't think there's going to be 128 teams better than Utah State. I'm not sure there's going to be 100 teams better than Utah State. I'm ranking them that, and having Hawaii at 38, North Dakota State at 26. Interesting decisions, to say the least.
Yes.
Let's see. I think we need to take a break. When we come back, we could dive into some more of these rankings because there's one that ranked Pac-12 defenses, another one that underrated the Aggies. We can maybe get into that a little bit later. We've said our piece where we believe the Aggies are going to have a better defense, but we don't quite have time. We got to take a break, and when we come back, we'll get into the Aggies and the NFL preseason, summarizing how 9 former Utah State players who are currently on NFL rosters, how each one of them did. We'll summarize that next here on the Full Court Press. Check out Live Young Rentals. They're officially rolling at Young Power Sports. You can rent street bikes, side-by-sides, and watercraft from brands like Polaris and Can-Am. You can call 435-755-7111. Rent one of these machines today or maybe for the weekend. Maybe don't do it on Monday. Unless, you know what? If you got a case of the Mondays, just rent it and just say whatever. It's a nice day outside.
Call it a mental health day.
Yeah, basically. Eric, I need a mental health day. Young Power Sports sponsors the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, and 1818 texting in saying, seems like Colby and Auburn are in a difficult spot. Either they can hope they get lucky and Colby can play for Auburn, or he gets ruled ineligible and Auburn loses that spot, or he can leave and come back to USU and risk that being his only option. He could fight it, but time is running out. Yeah, this is the problem with like relying on these like injunctions and trying to do all this in court, is that suddenly this gets flipped and like you've made those plans, like Colby and MJ, like say this doesn't work out for them. These are guys who can go play professional basketball, and they passed on that, banking on being able to do this at the college level, get another year, get that bag.
That was a risk that they decided to take.
Yeah,
though.
and they
weighed those options, and this was the option they chose, knowing the risk that it would entail.
Yeah.
They didn't know this was going to get granted to give them any shot of having an opportunity to play collegiately, but they felt like their chances were good and were willing to take that risk. And so this is the consequence they have to live with the actions that they chose to take.
Yeah, they made an adult decision, and these are adult consequences,
right?
Essentially.
Yeah.
Let's talk about professional, though this is the NFL, professional football. 9 former Utah State football players. Now, I qualify this. These are players who graduated from Utah State or spent their last season of eligibility with the Aggies. I guess Jordan Love didn't really graduate from Utah State, or maybe he did. Or did he come back and get his degree? I can't remember.
I don't know.
But he left college early. He left after his junior season. These are all players who played their final season of eligibility with Utah State. A couple of them are longtime veterans. One of them notably absent is Bobby Wagner. We talked about him last Thursday, whether or not he would sign with the team. He has not signed with anybody, so he has not participated in any of the preseason games. But we're through week 1 of the NFL preseason, so let's update all the players, how they did in their week 1 game. For most of these, it was their first game, though. For one Aggie, it was his second game. Mm-hmm. Jordan Love, I think we briefly mentioned him. He was in for 9 total snaps. He threw 5 passes, completed 3, got 18 yards. He was in and out.
Right.
Just get a quick warm-up session and then go stretch on the sideline to cool down. And
not a whole lot.
Let Tyrod Taylor come in. Jalen Royals for the Kansas City Chiefs. He played the most snaps of anybody for any of these former Aggies. He played 40 snaps. And within that time, he had 2 targets for 2 receptions. He caught both of those targets, got 17 yards. Noah Avenger, brief day at the office, played 6 total snaps, had 2 tackles. Both of them were solo tackles. Wyatt Bowles, he played 29 snaps in the offensive line for the LA Rams. By the way, Noah Avenger is for the LA Chargers. Wyatt Bowles, so he was among the higher snap getters on the offensive line. And Pro Football Focus, we don't have stats for the offensive line. Pro Football Focus graded him, I think, 5th best among players who had at least, think of all the players who played on the offensive line for the Rams in that game. Brady Boyd, he played 27 snaps, had 1 target, and he caught it for 19 yards.
It was a nice play.
Yeah, it was pretty solid. Jalen Davis, the veteran of the Cincinnati Bengals, he did not play at all. He's a veteran who ain't got time for that. So he's projected to make the 53-man roster, and perhaps because of that's like we're just going to focus on other people, maybe who can make the back end of the roster. Miles Davis, we noted his participation in the Hall of Fame game where he played 20 snaps, rushed for 53 yards, also had 9 receiving yards, but in his second game, a little less involved in the offense. 5 rushing yards on 4 attempts, had 1 target, but he didn't catch it. So he did have a kick return for 25 yards.
It was all-purpose added up.
Yeah, all-purpose was all right. Kyrus Rowan, he played only 6 snaps. He had 1 target. It was a deep ball that he was kind of tightly covered. It was slightly underthrown. Also hit him in the hands. So it's like there's a mix of different things whether or not he should have caught it. Would have been for about 40 yards had he caught it, but he didn't. So 0 receptions on 1 target for him. Devin Tompkins for the Las Vegas Raiders, 24 snaps across offense and special teams. And his all-purpose yards really added up. He only had 2 targets, 1 catch for 6 yards, but he had 3 kick returns for 91 total yards and then 1 10-yard punt return. So he ends up with 107 total yards on the day.
Yeah, I love to see Devin Tompkins out there with his speed and his moves, and certainly his height, I think, gives him an advantage as a returner. Because he can get lost. Yeah, because you can get lost.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Just hide behind. Do they put offensive linemen in there now as those kind of I can't remember what the meta for kick returns is these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, and especially where kick returns are kind of getting revived in the NFL.
Yeah, they are.
It's seeing a bit of a revival, and I think he's also really solid as a punt returner. We'll see if he sticks around with the Raiders in that capacity. So that's kind of a rundown of the Aggies in the preseason. I think right now, if I'm looking at it, the players who are most likely to make the roster, you have 3 mostly guarantees with Jordan Love, Jalen Royals, and Jalen Davis. Everyone else is kind of sitting on the fringe. Wyatt Bowles, maybe he can play himself into a roster spot. I think he'll probably end up on the practice squad. We'll see about Devin Tompkins. I think with his abilities in the return game, and maybe he sticks in the roster spot for that, or maybe he's kind of bounced between a couple of practice squads. For everyone else, like maybe Miles Davis makes the Panthers practice squads, but there's a lot of these guys who are kind of on the outside looking in. But now is the time for them to potentially play themselves into a solid spot.
Yeah, not many preseason games left, but still some opportunities for them to showcase what they can potentially do for an NFL team.
Yeah. We got to take a break. When we come back, pick 6 results, where we're actually going to kind of go over these once again, because a lot of our lines had to do with these players and what stats that they put up in these games. We'll be back after this here on the Full Court Press. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen as we look to wrap up today's show with our Pick 6 results. The 6 things that we thought were going to happen over the weekend. Let's see whether or not they actually happened. So starting with the lines that I set, Miles Davis rush attempts in his second preseason game. I set the line at 3.5. I took the under. Eric took the over. He rushed the ball 4 times, so the over hits there. Devin Tompkins, all-purpose yards, 37.5. I took the under. Eric took the over. As mentioned, he had 107, so the over hits. Jalen Royals receiving yards on Saturday. I said the line at 11.5. We both took the over, and he had 17. So we both get that one there. So, Eric, you're up 3-1. We get to your first line, and I have a problem, Eric.
Uh-oh.
Because you said Miles Davis total yards, and then you said rushing and receiving. There's a problem because I took the under, you took the over. He had 5 total yards, but 30 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, I did not include anything in the returns.
Okay, so the under hits as he only had 5. So that makes it 3-2 in your favor. Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark total points over under 42.5. I took the over, you took the under. They each scored 29 in that game between the Wings and the Fever. So the over hits.
They had a good old-fashioned shootout.
Yeah, 58 points combined. So it's 3-3 heading into this final line. Matthew Boyd, strikeouts on Saturday, over under 6.5. I took the under, you took the over. He had 2. So
Matthew Boyd. Cubs let me down. Cardinals played better than they should have.
And the tiebreaker, I would have won that as well. Alex Pelot's finish at Markham. That was an interesting race in IndyCar. They had a million cautions and a racetrack that wasn't ready until like Friday afternoon.
Oh,
they had to delay.
It's cutting it too close.
They had to delay one of the practices because the track wasn't ready. It's like, I was telling my brother they delayed the practice because the track wasn't ready. He's like, "How?" I was like, "Well, it's a street race because."
Yeah, you take extra care. You don't want stuff flying up into your engine block.
Yeah, not fun stuff. So I had to get all that ready. So final note here, numbers. It's number season for Utah State football. Most teams already have their number. If you're at LSU, that's certainly a thing to be fighting about. Player numbers are a headline for other teams, and they kind of are for Utah State as Bronco Mendenhall system. I thought maybe they were moving on because like, some of these players were wearing their numbers in spring football, and Broncos like, well, they're veterans. It's nice to let them wear their, the returners wear their numbers, reward them. And then they lost all their numbers going into fall camp. And now we're back to the system where they have like this meeting, like the team leaders will say, these players have earned the right to pick their jerseys. And there were 2 who picked them like late last week, McKay Hillstead and Carson Tujay.
That was after practice on Saturday.
Yeah, they got the numbers 2 and 28, respectively. So McKay Hillstead, who last wore number 10 for the Aggies, will instead be wearing number 2 for the Aggies. But then today, Eric, you were looking at this, like 35 players got their jerseys, so a bunch. So Anthony Garcia, he wore number 10 last year, I believe. He's listed as number 1.
Number 1.
Charger Doty's going to wear number 3, as will punter Landon Riku. I can never remember how to say his name. Brevin Hamblin retains the number 4. Some newcomers, Marquis Grant, the corner, will wear number 5. And on offense, Rex Haynes will wear that number. Demick Starling will retain the number 6 that he wore last year. Newcomer Eli Woods wearing number 7. Javen Jacobs retains his number 8. David Kabongo, a newcomer, he's going to wear number 8 on defense. Tyree Morris, he wore number 9 last year, didn't he?
I believe he did.
I believe he did. So he's got that one. Bronson Olival retains his number 14 jersey. Noah White also wearing number 23 as he did, I believe, last year. D'Angelo Mays, I think he wore 15 last year as well. Chris Joe wore number 25 last year. He retains that. So a lot of guys retaining their numbers, but also a lot of players wearing some new numbers. Tava Motuapuaka and George Miley are both wearing their same numbers from last year. Motuapuaka wore 65. George Miley wore 72. So players retaining some of the jerseys. There's a lot of players who haven't gotten their jersey number. Won't necessarily list all of them off, but there are guys who are projected in like starting lineups or in our top 25 Aggies who have not yet received a jersey number, but will hopefully receive a jersey number by the time week 1 rolls around.
Yeah, it's possibility exists that if you don't do the things that are required and the leadership council doesn't believe that you're ready, then you don't get your jersey number.
There were players last year who didn't get a jersey number the entire season.
Yep.
So that's
can't play on the field.
That's something
you don't have a jersey number.
That's something that, of course, one of the players lost his jersey number because lost isn't the right word, but like he had to change it because there was a rule about like because he wore I think 16. I think it was Riku. He wore 16 last year, but then he couldn't wear 16 because that was what Bryson Barnes wore. And there was a rule about not having your punter like wearing the same number as like someone on the offense or something like that. So he became like number 40 something, I think, for part of the year. Because I think that happened somewhere in college where like a quarterback snuck in to play punter because he looked vaguely like the punter and wore the same number as the punter. So I think somebody complained and a rule started getting enforced.
Yeah, and we've seen in some games where somebody comes on and they have to put a different jersey on if they're on special teams.
Yeah, I think Noah White had to do that, or
take
somebody
it back
had to do it last
off once they
season.
get back to the sidelines and remember what jersey they're wearing based on their role at that specific time.
It's the whole thing when you have more than 100 players on a football roster and there are only 100 numbers available to be worn from 0 to 99.
Yeah.
That's all you get. So, of course, in the NFL, apparently they're using triple-digit numbers. So I keep looking at box scores and it'll say like number 520, and I'm like, we doing NASCAR numbers
what?
now? I was looking at some of these NFL box scores. Like they literally have players, or maybe they're both wearing like number 52 or number 29, and ESPN's just adding a 0 on the end to make it look good. But like I keep seeing triple-digit numbers show up in ESPN's box scores. So something's happening there.
Wow. Crazy.
So that's number season for Utah State football.
Also, a reminder, we don't know all the details just yet. Those should be released here soon. But Utah State is hosting a family fun day this Saturday. From what I understand, it'll be from 3:30 to 6. So an opportunity
fun.
to get autographs from players. I don't know what's going to actually happen on the field. If they'll be running different plays or scrimmages, we're trying to get some more details on that. But
what are we going to do on our show?
On Saturday?
Oh, it was on Saturday. Never mind.
It's Saturday from 3:30 to 6. I won't be doing a show at that time. But
we'll do
hopefully
a live show. That's
fans can go and check that out on Saturday afternoon on Merlin Olsen Field.
Yeah, so we'll get details on that as soon as we can. But that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for listening, either on 106.9 or 1390 AM The Fan, or listening and watching live on YouTube. We'll be back at it tomorrow.